If you've just received your device, you should already be logged in when you open the GroTrack app. However, if you do see a login page, you'll sign in using your username and password. This is the same username and password that you'll use to access the GroTrack.online portal. After that, you'll see a page that says New Patient or Existing Patient. To register a new patient, you're going to enter the patient's first and last name, their gender, date of birth, and phone number. Once you click Create, that patient's file will automatically upload into your portal. To search for an existing patient, you can enter either the first or last name or any other piece of information that you register that patient by. When you hit search, you should see the patient come up in a little circle icon on the screen. To prepare for the image capture, you'll want to be in a well-lit room with no harsh direct overhead lighting. You'll need an adjustable stool and a tray table directly next to you. On that tray table, the supplies you'll need is your GroTrack camera, a spray bottle filled with water, a fine tip marking pen, a flexible measuring tape, a rat tail comb, some clips, and some hair elastics.
So the first thing we're going to do to prep the patient for the global image capture is to give her a clean center parting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to follow the center of the bridge of her nose up to the forehead, and then I will continue that parting all the way back to her vertex. It's very important that the parting is nicely centered. You don't want to be askew to one side or the other. And then we'll make sure that the hair is nice and damp so that we can ensure that it lays flat to the head, and we'll secure her hair back into a ponytail.
To capture the global images, there are 5 angles to choose from. You have one on each temple, the frontal image, the back, and the crown. If you wish to take all 5, you can select all positions. Otherwise, you can choose the specific angles that align with your patient's areas of concern. So for the frontal image, what you'll do is you're going to make sure that your camera lens is parallel to your patient's face. You don't want to be tilting forwards or backwards at all, and your lens should be roughly at eye level. By positioning the patient as you see on the template shown below, you're then going to line up the patient's head within the red template on the screen, cutting off at the ears, the chin, and the center line should align with the bridge of the nose and the middle parting. To capture the crown global image, you'll again position your patient as the template on the bottom of the screen shows you. So for this, I instruct the patient to look down towards their lap, and you'll raise the angle of your camera as well until we can emulate the same angle shown on the template. So for this, we're looking to still be able to see some forehead and the bridge of the nose. Once you've positioned your patient, you'll line up their head within the red 3-sided box on the screen. Once the patient's head is aligned within the red box, you'll notice that there are 2 arrows on the screen. You'll use these arrows to make adjustments to the length of the blue rectangle in the center of the screen. The blue center line within that rectangle should align with your center part. And what you'll do is ensuring that the back of the red box is directly at the back of your patient's head. You're going to make small adjustments to the length of that rectangle using the arrows on the right-hand side. To capture the right and left side global images, you'll position your patients facing sideways so that you can see their profile. And again, ensuring that your camera is parallel to your patient's face at eye level, you're going to line up the chin, the tip of the nose, and the top of the head within the red three-sided square. For the left side image, you'll do the same. You'll position your patient facing profile, and then you'll align their face within the red three-sided square, cutting off at the chin, tip of the nose, and top of the head.
Okay, so now we're getting ready to take our close-up images now that we've completed the global image capture. So when you are setting up for the close-up images, it's best to stand on the side of the patient. So I'm right-handed, I'm gonna stand on her right side. If you're left-handed, you're gonna do the opposite. So we are going to need to re-dampen it a little bit. And what we're going to do is we're going to mark all of our close-up locations. So there are 6 locations that we're going to mark. We have 3 points along the top of her head. We have 1 at the occipital, and then we also have 1 in each temple. And I'm gonna continue her middle part all the way through the back of her head. Once you've made your parting in the back, you can use some clips to hold the hair in place for you. So now that we have her prepped with her middle part continuing all the way to the back of her head, we're gonna start by marking our 3 points along the top of her head, and our 4th point is gonna be at the back of her head in the occipital region. For this, you're gonna need your flexible measuring tape and a fine point marking pen or a fine tip Sharpie.
Ignoring any baby hair that they may have there, we're going to consider the front of the hairline where the thickest hair starts to grow in. And from that front of the hairline, you will measure 1 inch back and make a small dot on the scalp using your fine tip Sharpie. To find your midpoint, you're going to use the ears as a landmark. Placing your fingers where the scalp meets the ears, you're going to run your fingers up and over to the top of the head like a headband, and that should place you about 1/2 to 2/3 of the way towards the vertex. Again, we're going to use the ears as a landmark, placing our fingers right where the ears connect with the scalp, running your fingers up and over the top of the head until you come to your midline, and making a mark there. You'll measure again starting at the front of the hairline and record the distance to that midline point. Depending on the size of each individual patient's head, everyone's vertex should be in the range of 2 to 3 inches behind the midpoint. Again, you're going to measure from the front of the hairline to the vertex and record that distance so that it can be duplicated in future sessions. To find the occipital close-up, what you'll do is place your fingers at the midpoint of each ear and slide your fingers backwards until you meet your midline part. We do request that you take a occipital close-up image at every patient's first visit. Once you've marked those 4 points, you should have a continuum of measurements starting at the front of the hairline to your frontal point, midpoint, vertex, and then occipital point. It's important that you record the measurements of your close-up marking position so that they can be duplicated again at future sessions. Before taking close-up images, turn on your LED by sliding the panel on the back of the camera. To capture the close-up images, Begin by standing on the side of the patient so your hands and arms are parallel to the hair parting. You'll need to clean up the parting at each location using your spray bottle and combing the hair 2 to 3 times in each direction, holding the hair flat to the scalp using your index and middle finger. Place the camera lens between your fingers, making sure that the lens makes firm, even contact with the scalp. Align the parting along the vertical red line and your marking in the center of the red cross on the screen. Select the capture button, then select next to move to the second zoomed image. Remember, you'll be taking 2 images at each location. The first is 12 times magnified and the second is 36 times magnified. These images will be used to track density and thickness. If your image is blurry, first check that you're making even contact with the lens, then try tapping the image to focus. If you take an image that is blurry, select retake on the bottom left before moving forward. The parting at each location must be clean, straight, and centered with the vertical red line on the screen, otherwise it may result in errors in hair analytics. If you ever lose track of where you should be capturing each image, check the template at the bottom of the screen to find the correct location, and try to avoid lifting the camera from the scalp in between images at each location. Please be sure to take an occipital close-up at each patient's first session for the gross scale portion of the analysis. The last 2 close-up locations are in the temples. To mark the temples, find the corner of the patient's hairline and mark 1 to 1.5 inches back along the same angle as your middle part. Once you've made this part, you may need to use some clips to help you hold the hair out of the way. You're going to measure about 1 inch to 1.5 inches into the hairline. By measuring 1 inch back into the hairline, it ensures that our camera lens is not going to capture any bare skin on the forehead. Once you've created your parting, again using that parting technique, you're going to make sure that you hold tension on the hair, opening up the hair like a book so that it's combed perpendicularly off of your part line. Once you've captured the first image, you'll hit next. You're going to take your second zoomed image at that location, and then you'll move to the other side. To better measure this location, if your patient does not have a lot of hair left in the temples or doesn't have a very distinct corner, is taking your measuring tape, placing it at the tip of your patient's nose. You're going to run that through the pupil of the eye and estimate again about 1 inch to 1.5 inches into the hairline. After you've captured all of your close-up images, you're going to hit end the session, and those images should take less than 2 minutes to upload into the software portal. Certain patients' hair may be more difficult than others to manage for the image capture. For example, patients with shorter hair can be slightly more difficult to be able to hold the hair down using that parting technique. For the global images, even for men with short hair, we do need to establish a clean center part line. You may need to use some additional gel on top of the water spray if you have a patient that has very unruly hair. Once you finish your photo session, turn off the LED by sliding the panel down and wipe the exterior of the lens with alcohol to sanitize.